Thank you for joining us for Navigating Benefits. We're going to dive deeper into RCA and CalWORKS and just learn a little bit more. This is a part of the California Newcomer Project's Agency Learning and Support Series. My name is Carissa, and I am an associate consultant with Solvera. And I'm so glad to help facilitate this morning with our incredible subject matter experts on RCA and CalWORKS. So we are looking forward to getting started this morning. This session, as I mentioned, as I'm from Solvera, we're hosting this session in partnership with California Department of Social Services, CDSS, and the Refugee Programs Bureau, RPB. And again, we're very glad you could join us today. As we dive in, I wanted to briefly share a little bit about Solvera. So what we do is we partner with agencies, systems, to strengthen services and support frontline staff doing complex work across California. Our approach is to do this with collaboration, curiosity, practical learning, and to, find better ways of doing good in the community. So what we're trying to do is make sure that anything that we're helping facilitate is going to help you in the real world, the day-to-day task. So we are looking forward to getting this information to you today. This session is part of the California Newcomer Project, and this is what Solvera is working on in collaboration with CDSS and RPB. I want to kind of pause here and name something that's really important for what we're doing in this webinar series. The topics that we have been sharing over these past series, this is a webinar 6, the topics haven't been decided in isolation. They're coming directly from you. So through conversations with you, through interviews, listening sessions, feedback surveys, and ongoing conversations, we're getting the information and the request from you about what topics would help you, what topics would help your teams. And we are so thankful for that feedback. So in many ways, the series that we're doing exists because of your questions and your request. So if you've ever filled out a survey for us or engaged with us, thank you so much. This webinar series it's the result of all of that feedback. So thank you again. The webinar that we're working on, as I've mentioned, is part of a larger project, the California Newcomer Project. Other ways that you can engage have been surveys, listening sessions, interviews, these additional webinars, and we will be doing in-person trainings as well. So there's lots of ways to engage. Today, you are here, you're doing a webinar with us, so you're participating, and that is so helpful. And again, your feedback from this webinar and other ways to engaging in this project will help us continue to provide excellent resources and relevant topics to you. Today's session is going to be kind of like a back to basics on some benefits like RCA, Refugee Cash Assistance, CalWORKS, and we're going to kind of learn more about the eligibility requirements, walk through the application processes, and discuss the common challenges, best practices, and updated information as we know things are consistently changing. We will have a webinar coming up in March, so stay tuned for that. We'll be sharing more information about that topic coming forward. And as we're going to hop in soon, just some reminders before we continue. Please stay muted unless we are like, hey, everyone, you can come off mute and ask a question, but please stay muted. You can also submit questions using the Q&A feature on Zoom. That would be a great way to engage. And also if you have a question, you're like, I don't want to forget this, go ahead and put it in the Q&A function so that it can store it. And then when we have the time for the Q&A at the end of the session, we'll be able to see those questions as well. You can also upvote the questions that are submitted. So if you like somebody's question that they submitted, you can upvote it so that we can see that a lot of people want the answer to that. And also, we're going to be using a quick little Zoom poll in just a moment so we can get some information about where you are listening from and how long have you been working in this field as well. There will be a post-session survey, as I've mentioned as well, that we will want your information on, your feedback on. And we have the poll already launched right now. Oh, we can go ahead and relaunch that. And one second. Yeah, I'll give you about 45 to 60 seconds for everyone to engage with that poll. These are just 2 questions about where you are and how long have you been working this? This helps us kind of gather information about who's listening from where across California, and also just is very interesting to see um, just the longevity and of who's been working in this work and engaging in these sessions. So about 30 more seconds. We're having quite a few people respond, so thank you so much. Two questions on the screen. It is anonymous. Okay, about 20 more seconds. It's also great to see people introducing themselves in the chat, so thank you. We appreciate that as well. Okay, about 5 more seconds. If you can quickly get your answers in, this is great information for us to gather. All righty. Thank you so much for responding to that. And we do that at the beginning of all of our webinars in this series so that we can continue to see what areas are engaging and what areas we might want to do more outreach in and all of that stuff. So we really appreciate it. All right. I also want to know that these sessions are for those who are working directly with the ORR eligible populations across California. So if you are joining as media, we kindly ask that you exit the session now, as this is for those who are directly working with the ORR eligible community across California at this time. We will also be recording this session, and the slides and the session will be available after the webinar on Support Guide. I will be following up with all that information via email as well. Okay, so again, before we get fully started, we want to make sure we have some expectations set for everybody and what we're going to be actually covering today. So today, topics that we will be going over: Refugee Cash Assistance, CalWORKS, the application process, and best practices. Things that we will not have time for or are not able to cover today are very specific case questions. So think about that too as you ask questions in the Q&A or in the chat. We're not able to provide that individualized case specific support right now. We're not going to be going over other support programs. We know that there's a bunch of things that are out there that can help engage clients and support them. But today we're talking about RCA and CalWORKS. And we're not going to be going over any crisis situations today as well. I always like to get us started too, as centering around what together we're going to be doing. So we are going to be embracing curiosity today. Sometimes we won't have all the answers to the questions, but we want the questions. So this is a learning space, and questions, even ones that are nuanced or messy, we want to welcome those. We will do our best to provide answers where we can, or follow up, or whatever we can to those questions. But we're just all here to be curious and learn together. We want to offer mutual respect. Participants who are here today with us, whether you are new with us today or have been in other sessions with us, we know that you bring different experiences and you have different roles and you have different constraints for your jobs. But we ask that everyone, engage in ways that are respectful, and know that we're all bringing different experiences with us to the session today. Again, we want to also share feedback, as I've mentioned how important it is for our feedback surveys. That's where we're getting these topics from, whether it's through the chat or Q&A or the post-session survey. Your feedback is so crucial to this webinar series. And then finally, I want to acknowledge our current environment. We recognize that the policies and guidance and procedures are frequently changing in this current environment. We want to be mindful of that reality and the uncertainty that that brings. And we want to, make sure that we are creating information and webinar and resources that are good for your everyday, day-to-day work. Our goal is to meet that reality of our situation with the practical information that we have currently. So we truly do appreciate the hard work, the patience, the resilience that you're showing in your job serving ORR eligible communities. The information shared today reflects what is accurate and true as of today. And I know that RCA team and the CalWORKS team and the Refugee Programs Bureau are all committed to continuing to share the updated information as it comes. So thank you for your engagement and your patience as well. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to be going over CalWORKS, RCA. We'll have some time at the end for Q&A. And I am about to get started with introducing our first facilitator, Julia Perez. She is a program manager with the California Department of Social Services and CalWORKS Early Engagement and Eligibility Bureau. Julia brings experience from both the county and the state level and is deeply committed to equity, access, and supporting families on the path to self-sufficiency. So very glad to have her here with us. And Julia, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Julia Perez, Staff Services Manager with the Early Engagement and Eligibility Bureau, and my team and I will provide an overview of CalWORKS. Here with me today is my Bureau Chief, Octavio Galvan, and my Section Chief, Julie Fong, who will be helping me with monitor the chat and also help facilitate the Q&A session at the end of our presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to go over our agenda as follows. We will be doing a CalWORKS overview, going over the application process, some eligibility components when it relates to CalWORKS, our non-citizen eligibility requirements, some best practices on how to engage with our participants, and also discuss some of the challenges that our participants feel that they face through our application process, and also talk about what's on the horizon for our CalWORKS programs. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to go into an overview of CalWORKS. Implemented in 1998, CalWORKS provides cash assistance to help families meet their basic needs. CalWORKS also provides educational, employment, and training programs, also voluntary home visiting programs, and supportive barrier removal resources when it comes to helping families meet their needs. That can be from our homeless services and also our family stabilization services to help improve families' employment and well-being outcomes. In our recent years, CalWORKS has transitioned towards a more goal-oriented, family-centered service delivery approach in alignment with CalWORKS 2.0 and the statewide implementation of the CalWORKS Outcomes and Accountabilities Review, also known as CalOR. An intentional focus of CalWORKS is on participant engagement, educational attainment, service delivery, barrier mitigation, and overall family and well-being, which leads to the greater economic stability and mobility of our families who are experiencing poverty and also the families who come into your services every day. You'll see that our program model and our culture framing throughout CalWORKS is evident through all of our different wraparound services for our families. In some areas, it's fully evident, while in others, we're still working on policy changes that will reflect that lens. I'm now going to provide a high-level overview of the structure of CalWORKS and who is served by our program. So just a little overview. CalWORKS is overseen by the California Department of Social Services. It's also governed locally by our 58 counties, our county health and human services agencies. Next slide, please. Now we're going to go ahead and do a brief overview of our application process. I want to start with the caveat that this process may vary from county to county, but the rules and regulations and timelines are all the same for all 58 counties. Our applicants can apply through benefitscal.com. They can also apply in person at their local county office and also over the phone. After that application process, there is the interview process, and the county will schedule an interview with our participants and our applicants, and they will schedule that interview, whether in person or over the phone, and then they'll confirm the details and talk about the application with the participant, go through the questions, and also request verification for the different verification that the applicant may need to be eligible for CalWORKS. So families will need to provide proof that they're eligible for assistance. We'll go into more detail of what that looks like on the next slide, but the worker will go through that process with the applicant during the interview. And also too, for our CBOs on the call, you may be going through that process with the applicant before they even get into the interview process. And we thank you so much for that. For our most vulnerable families, if apparently eligible, families may receive an immediate need payment while their application is being processed. A lot of times when families are eligible for immediate need, they will receive a same day appointment. But again, that is all based off of the county workload, what they can do that day. But immediate need does need to be processed within a certain time frame. And as far as timelines are concerned, the counties have 45 days to process an application for CalWORKS. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to get into more of the details of CalWORKS eligibility requirements. To be eligible for CalWORKS, a child must meet a category of deprivation. For the purposes of our program, deprivation categories include to be deprived of parental support, also known as having an absent parent, a parent who is unemployed or underemployed, a parent may be deceased or incapacitated. So, in order to be eligible for CalWORKS, a child must meet one of these deprivation categories. There are also age requirements for CalWORKS. All eligible children must be under the age of 18 or meet certain exceptions as listed within our slide deck. Income and property resources are also a factor as well. Families must be under the minimum of basic standards of care to be eligible, also known as an MBSAC. Additionally, families must be under the resource limit to qualify, and those resource limits are included within our slide deck as well. Families must reside in the state of California and must apply in the county in which they reside. And a couple of more eligibility requirements before we go into the details of our citizenship requirements. Citizenship, in short, a participant must meet a qualifying non-citizenship category in order to be eligible for CalWORKS. And as always, as some of you may know on the call, CalWORKS is time limited for adults receiving aid, 5 years or an equivalent to 60 months. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and go into our qualified immigrant requirements. But before we dive into the CalWORKS citizenship requirements, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge the uncertainty at the federal level as far as the federal climate and its potential impacts at the state level. This includes potential changes to the public charge rule, changes to the systematic alien verification for entitlements system, also known as SAVE, and changes under HR 1, also known as the Big Beautiful Bill that has impacted our CalFresh and Medi-Cal benefits. Our department is committed to keeping all of our partners and stakeholders as informed as possible, but want to acknowledge essentially the elephant in the room when it comes to the changes at the federal level and reiterating our commitment to uphold CDSS's values of equity, family well-being, and the social contract for all citizens of the state. And just speaking through of the social contract, we are here to do the good. So everything that we do is for the higher good for our participants and our families that we serve. In the context of the federal landscape, it is important to note that TANF CalWORKS rules have not changed under HR 1, but there have been changes for CalFresh and Medi-Cal that potentially impact immigrant and refugee communities. Both programs have released guidance about these changes, and they will be releasing additional guidance in the future. So please stay tuned for that, and we will ensure to include those resources when the slide deck is sent out to all of our attendees. As previously mentioned, there are potential changes pertaining to several rules that inform the provision of publicly funded support service for immigrant families. The first potential change to the federal is to the federal public charge rule. For everyone who may not know what public charge is, it's a federal rule that currently provides the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, also known as USCIS, limited ability to consider receipt of publicly funded benefits when granting entry or permanent residency to a non-US citizen. There are current proposals to abolish this rule. The second potential change pertains to categories of parolees who are currently exempt from the 1 year residency requirement under federal TANF rules. The opposed changes may amend which groups are exempt from the 1 year residency requirement. Currently, the following groups who are exempt from that 1 year requirement and are not subject to the 5 year bar include parolees from Afghanistan, Cuba, Haiti, and the Ukraine. All of those populations are currently eligible for benefits to the same extent as another subgroup of non citizens, persons admitted as refugees. Refugees are eligible for a wide range of federal benefits, public benefits, and are not subject to the 5 year bar or 1 year parolee requirement. Other categories who are exempt from the 5 year bar requirement for federal TANF are refugees, asylees, immigrants whose deportation is being withheld, Ameri-Asians, Cuban Haitian entrants, individuals residing in the United States in accordance with the Compact of Free Association, also known as your COFA populations, members of the military on active duty and their spouses, and unmarried dependent children, as well as immigrants who Congress have determined should receive the same benefits as refugees. So, an example of this population may be Afghan or Iraqi populations with the special immigrant visas. Next slide, please. As we go through this slide, as indicated within the slide, here are some of our most common citizenship categories that are eligible for CalWORKS according to state and federal regulations. There are a couple of citizenship categories, for example, Cuban Haitian entrants, Ameri-Asians, our COFA populations, and special immigrant visas that are not listed here, but these are our most common non-citizen categories that we will see applying for aid in our offices. A full list of non-citizen categories can be found in our All County Information Notice I-71-2000, which will be included in the resource section of your presentation materials that you will receive via email after this presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the process of the Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlement System, also known as SAVE. SAVE is a service that helps local benefit issuing agencies like our county health and human services agencies determine the immigration status for benefits for applicants who are applying for aid. The United States Citizenship and Immigration Services oversee this process and use an online system to verify this information. As a reminder, SAVE must be initiated and processed for all individuals applying for aid and at each subsequent annual redetermination for all recipients receiving CalWORKS. Additionally, SAVE must be checked whenever a recipient's immigration status changes or a new member is added to the assistance unit. If an individual is found ineligible for aid due to their immigration status, they will be denied at application. When an immigrant's status changes and they do not meet another qualifying citizenship category, they will no longer be eligible for aid and discontinued from the program. And that's for that's for the recipients currently receiving. There are uncertainties with non-citizen immigration. If there are uncertainties with immigration status, then the County Health and Human Service Agency will initiate a save to verify that immigration status for that individual or the family members who are applying for aid. As mentioned in previous slides, there are current federal policies that are being considered that may change these rules and regulations around save matches and information stored within the system. However, for the purposes of CalWORKS, County Health and Human Services agencies review save matches for the sole purposes of determining eligibility for CalWORKS and benefits. Next slide, please. Okay, deep breaths because we're going to transition from our citizenship rules and talk about some of our unique aspects of the CalWORKS program. CalWORKS is administered at the county level. This means that each county has their respective offices and certain procedures, as I've talked about before. So some of the primary program supports and services are uniform across the state. However, each county program is designed to respond to the unique needs of each county population. California is one of the handful of states that provide aid to eligible children if their parents are not eligible due to their immigration status. We also have several sub-programs that offer resources and assistance to our most vulnerable families. One of them include family stabilization. This particular program provides stabilization services to ensure families receive the support that they need to remain stable and thrive. This program goes hand in hand with our homeless assistance services that provide resources to our families who are at risk or experiencing homelessness and provides families with assistance to pay their rent. And there are two different kinds of homeless assistance that's offered within CalWORKS. Our temporary homeless assistance, which provides 16 days of temporary shelter to pay for hotel and motel costs. These amounts vary based off of the size of the family. And then our permanent homeless assistance, which helps our family secure housing or prevent eviction. And this may look like paying a security deposit in last month's rent or paying up to 2 months of 2 months of arrearages of past due rent to prevent eviction. Another wraparound service that I want to briefly speak on is our home visiting program, which provides voluntary assistance to pregnant and parenting families and provides resources included but not limited to prenatal, infant, and toddler care, developmental screenings and assessments, parent education, parent classes, socialization and child interaction and child development, different opportunities to provide the family with different resources to have parenting classes, opportunities to socialize their children in different spaces, as well as job readiness and barrier removal for these families. In addition to the home visiting program, also helps provide resources for domestic abuse, sexual assault, mental health, and substance abuse treatment if needed. There are certain eligibility requirements for the home visiting program, also known as HVP, but we will be including that information within the resources that will be given to all of the participants and attendees at the end of this presentation. Last but not least, I want to talk about the changes to childcare. Families are now eligible to receive 24 months of initial and continuous childcare with the passage of Assembly Bill 1808, which is another wraparound service that provides childcare and stable childcare for our families. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to transition now into some of the common challenges that our families are faced when applying for CalWORKS. One of the key challenges is that because our program is so complex, families may be confused about the required reporting requirements or when they should be reporting these changes. This can be driven by a variety of factors. As a department, we want to encourage families to reach out to the county if there's any confusion about what needs to be reported or if there's any questions related to the CalWORKS rules. For our county partners and community based organizations who are boots on the ground, just like you every day, we appreciate your partnership in supporting our families, making them aware of our rules, and being willing to offer support and services when needed. That helps our participants gain confidence to not be afraid to ask for extra help when needed. And when we give those services to our participants, don't ever be afraid to give that extra helping hand if you have a participant who may be in need of additional support. As some of you may probably know, to be eligible for CalWORKS, families must provide, like I talked about earlier, that verification for eligibility by providing copies of certain documents, such as a birth certificate, identification, income stubs. It's very important that families have these documents prepared and organized for a more efficient and more timely application process. So if clients are coming into your organization and participants and applicants are coming into your organization and you can give them that support. I know that county health and human services agencies appreciate that, as well as the department as a whole. Lastly, some families may be unaware of all the supportive services that are available to them as a recipient of CalWORKS. The department encourages families to ask the county worker and or community-based organizations for support. And don't be afraid to reach out about those services when available. Some of the required documents and reporting notices may be hard to understand. We do encourage our families to request help, and it is their right to request an interpreter if they're having a problem reading the English forms, and also have a right to having forms in their native language. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to go ahead and transition into some of our best practices for our application process for our participants. So we talked about it already, having those eligibility documents already ready to go. The application requires ample time to complete. Applicants should plan to be if they're going in office, to be there for an hour or two to make sure that everything can get taken care of. They can receive their EBT card. If they need to receive help, like in a county resource center to print out documents, that they have that time to do so. Language support services are also available during the application process and eligibility process, and families will have the opportunity to request those translation services as needed. Families can also have community-based organizations like all of you on the call who are boots on the ground help them to complete their application. And we know from speaking with some of our participants and hearing from parent voices, your support in those processes is invaluable. And our participants across California, thank you for your support. Next slide, please. Okay, as we transition into our final slides, I would like to leave you with some areas of consideration for engagement. Though these tips are geared towards family engagement with the county health and human services agencies, they're also crucial at the county level to ensure our families are getting the support they need to have their benefits approved efficiently and timely, and to ensure that the family is able to fully utilize the services available to them if all conditions of eligibility are met. As workers and CBOs who assist our families every day, allowing our families to be vulnerable so we can meet them where they are and deliver these services with compassion and care is going to be invaluable through their application process and as they receive CalWORKS assistance. We know that you're already doing this, like as I've said it before, but I will sound like a broken record in this because we hear it from our various groups of participants every day, how much the help from the County Health and Human Services Agency and the CBOs that help help them go into the office and get approved for benefits. All of these areas of engagement are crucial to a successful CalWORKS experience. Next slide, please. Okay, lastly, we want to talk about some of our exciting things that are on the horizon for our CalWORKS program. We're continuing to streamline our program through our Transforming CalWORKS efforts. As part of our fiscal year 2025-2026 budget, approved by the California governor and our legislator, CDSS will implement a set of significant CalWORKS policy reforms. This milestone achievement builds on the important foundation for our program's improvement that was established through our CalOR efforts and our CalWORKS 2.0 efforts. These policy changes continue to strengthen the foundation and enable the transformation of CalWORKS to provide meaningful pathways to work that work towards economic stability, improve access to services for our participants, reduce penalties and administrative burden for families and our county workers. Some of those policy changes include, but are not limited to, the repeal of the WPR penalty pass-through for our counties, enhanced welfare to work process flows, allowable expansion to allowable welfare to work activities, advancement of transportation costs to ensure that our welfare to work participants have the supportive services they need to get to their activities, changes to sanction policies, sanctions changes to sanction policies, as well as further aligning with CalFresh, further revamping our multi-application, our multi-program application. These efforts are being accomplished through our SAWS 2 Plus revision efforts. The SAWS 2 Plus is a joint application for cash assistance, food assistance, health, and our healthcare programs, also known as Medi-Cal. With the revised SAWS 2 Plus, the application will be streamlined to reduce barriers and improve accessibility for not only our participants, but also the counties that serve our participants. The overall goal of the SAWS 2 Plus revision is to give our families confidence and respect through the application process while providing questions that are easy for the participants to understand. This goal is twofold: for our counties to receive fewer errors in the application process and also have more consistent data, as well as improving readability and reducing the burden that for families that we serve. Last but not least, the CalWORKS program would like to thank all of our attendees in the room today. We're looking forward to hearing from some of you in the Q&A session, and I see that people are already adding things to the Q&A, so we will get to your questions at the end of this presentation, and I would like to thank you for your time. Thank you so much, and back to you, Carissa. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Julia, for your presentation on CalWORKS. As she mentioned, feel free to put questions in directly in the chat. You can also put them in the Q&A section as well. You can do those questions anonymously if we want. And as a reminder, our session today is an hour and a half, 90 minutes. So we will have dedicated time at the end for live Q&A. So just a reminder about that. And one more reminder, resources and links and recordings of this session will be sent out to everybody, and it will be available on supportguide.org, as well as all of our other resources and previous webinars too. All right. So we are going to get started now with RCA. I would like to introduce our two subject matter experts. We have Veronica Perez. Veronica is a supervisor with over 25 years of experience in social services at the state and the county level. For the past 6 years, she's focused on refugee services and currently oversees adult refugee services, including Refugee Cash Assistance and support services. We also have R. Dasher Benham, a program analyst with Refugee Program Bureau. He serves as the lead Refugee Cash Assistance analyst, supporting policy and program implementation across the Bureau and in partnerships with counties and providers. We are so glad to have both of you here with us today. And Veronica, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Carissa. Welcome everyone to our session today. I want to give a huge thank you to our CalWORKS partners for sharing the information about their program, as well as taking us through the application process, which we know is one of the biggest daunting challenges in accessing some of our benefits and services. Just getting through the application process and knowing what it is that's needed from you or whoever it is that you are assisting. On behalf of the Refugee Programs Bureau within CDSS, again, my name is Veronica Perez, and I'm the manager of the RCA program. With me is our Dasher Becknam. He is the lead analyst over RCA. As Julia had mentioned, we also want to address that there has been radical change in the landscape of refugee resettlement. Due to that, we know there is a lot of confusion, a lot of fear surrounding even trying to access benefits. So we appreciate all of you who are in attendance, who are helping others apply, navigate this system and be support for those individuals who are still eligible, are definitely here with legal status, and really shouldn't have any reason to be afraid, but we are in interesting times. So, I do want to mention that some of those changes that did occur was the termination of the Refugee Resettlement Program back in January of 2025. And we've also seen changes to the Refugee Cash Assistance Program in terms of the amount of months that someone can tap into those services. So this presentation will be more of an overview over the Refugee Cash Assistance Program, and it really aims to provide some tips and guidance for those of you that are applying or that are representatives for people that are eligible. Next slide. So CDSS is assigned by the Office of Refugee Resettlement as the state agency that administers certain programs throughout California. These programs are run in partnership with the the county welfare departments, just as Julian mentioned, as well as some nonprofit organizations who provide specific support services. Two of those programs are the Refugee Cash Assistance Program, and this program is specifically for individuals who are not eligible for CalWORKS. This is mainly for singles or couples with no children. However, while rare, there are times that a family with children can find themselves ineligible for CalWORKS, and they may then be eligible for RCA. So it's important to note that if you are assisting someone that's applying and they do get a denial for CalWORKS, please always make sure that you ask the counties to evaluate them for RCA. Another program that we oversee is the Refugee Support Services, which is a corresponding employment program. It's administered in 8 counties that are designated as high impact counties where we've had a large amount of arrivals, and we are providing those supportive services. Next slide. So the Refugee Programs Bureau oversees this program with the goal of supporting newcomers into their journey to self-sufficiency. As I mentioned, it's available in every local county welfare department in California. The only exception is in San Diego. San Diego has a public-private partnership with CDSS. It's called the San Diego Newcomers Project, and it's currently run by a nonprofit organization called Catholic Diocese of San Diego. Similar to CalWORKS, RCA is a federal program. However, unlike CalWORKS, there's no state-funded alternative. So if you are denied federal RCA, there is no comparable program that is state-funded. Next slide. In addition to RCA and RES, the Refugee Programs Bureau also separately oversees a state-funded program called Trafficking and Crime Victims Assistance Program, or TCVAP. You may have heard of it as TCVAP. This program provides cash assistance, food benefits, and employment and social services to eligible non-citizen victims of human trafficking and non-citizen victims of domestic violence and other serious crimes. For more information about that program, because we won't be going over it in detail today, but for more information, please visit www.cdss.ca.gov/info-resources/TCVAP. And hopefully someone will be putting that in the chat for you as well. Important to note, receipt of state-funded TCVAP benefits and services does not preclude or eliminate someone's ability to apply or receive RCA. So in some cases, a TCVAP recipient may be applying for asylum. They may be applying to become a certified victim of severe human trafficking through the federal government. When those, if they have those approved, they can then apply for RCA. It does not eliminate them or affect their RCA eligibility. It's a completely different program. And we just want to make sure people are aware of that, because a lot of times they may think that the months that they receive TCVAP will be subtracted from their RCA benefits, and that is not the case. Next slide. All right, so what is Refugee Cash Assistance? To give you just a little bit of like regulation information, per the California Department of Social Services Manual of Policy and Procedures, which is called MPP, it's 69-202.4. RCA is a federally funded cash assistance program provided to eligible non-citizens who are found ineligible of CalWORKS or supplemental security income state supplemental payments. So they are found ineligible of those programs, and this is a program that they can then apply for. And another requirement is that they belong to an eligible population, which is defined by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. These eligible non-population will provide a list of those. They are different than those for CalWORKS. They are specific to RCA. And we just wanted to give you these two different locations for these regulations in case you wanted to take a deep dive for yourself. It's important to note also, as Julia mentioned, that the RCA eligibility has not been impacted by HR 1 or what is called the Big Beautiful Bill. Luckily, the eligibility has not changed. It has changed for other programs such as CalFresh and Medi-Cal, as Julia mentioned, but for RCA, it remains the same. We also want to emphasize as a reminder that there are circumstances where an applicant family, they may be found ineligible for federal CalWORKS, but as Julia mentioned, there is also the state-funded CalWORKS. So it's important to ask your county welfare department if you have found that you've been denied or the people you're assisting have been denied, that they ask if they're eligible for the state-funded CalWORKS as well. And then also, were they evaluated for RCA? Because at times it may be overlooked. Okay, how to apply for RCA. Next slide, please. Generally, the easiest way to apply, as Julia went over as well, is in person or online on the benefitscal.com website. You can fax or mail your application, but generally going in person or doing the online application is the easiest way to go. When applying in person, you would go to your local county welfare office, request the application, and apply for the benefits. You're going to ask for cash assistance. A lot of times when someone goes into a county office, they may say they want refugee assistance. It's always helpful to specify if you're asking for refugee cash assistance. However, you're going to be evaluated most likely for CalWORKS. And then once CalWORKS has been found, you've been found ineligible for CalWORKS, then you will be evaluated for RCA. But it is always a good idea to ask and make sure that that is being done. And so for those who are a little more tech savvy, you can apply online. The good thing about the online process is that you're able to upload documents. Those are fairly secure. They will be seen by the county and will be using that to determine your eligibility. Or you can do that in person and provide them at an in-person interview or take them into the office as well. Let's see, the benefits count online application. I know we've provided that in the chat, but it's also found on the refugee program website. The RPP web page also has links to the 58 county welfare department web pages, and there'll be information there on where you can apply, the locations of the offices. Also, there was a recent California law where each county is required to have a web page of refugee resources. There are links to those web pages on our website as well. And next slide. Okay, excuse me. What's important to note is that you will not see RCA on the application. And I think this is one of the things we often have struggled with in terms of supporting our applicants, our newcomer population. And we've addressed this with advocates and with the county, trying to come up with a way that the application is clear and that people are evaluated for the programs that they may be eligible for. So when applying, you're applying for cash assistance, and then that will allow for you to be evaluated for the different programs. Next slide. Some important things to note when applying for assistance. Julia went over the CalWORKS rules. For RCA, the county has 30 days to make a determination of the eligibility. The decision should be provided on what is called a notice of action. It indicates whether you were approved, denied, or some other explanation for what the determination was. It's very important that you receive a NOAA or notice of action. We see in some cases where individuals will go in and request for assistance, and maybe they're verbally denied or they're turned away due to no one's fault other than perhaps some training, staff turnover. We want to make sure that you are well educated and know that you should have a result in the notice that tells you what in fact was the determination, because that allows you to then request a hearing if you are denied and you believe that that was an incorrect decision. You can then request a hearing. That information is on the notice of action. So don't take a verbal denial. Always ask for the documentation, the notice of action. Let's see. Oh, also, if you are given a notice of action that says you were denied CalWORKS, again, just make sure that you ask the county whether or not you were evaluated for RCA as well, because sometimes it may be that training, staff turnover, it may be that individuals were unaware that there is a program that you may be eligible for. So please always ask for Refugee Cash Assistance. And now I will hand it over to our dasher to talk about who is eligible for RCA.
Thank you, Veronica and Carissa, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ardashir Behnom. I'm a program analyst with Refugee Program Bureau, Policy and Program Section. I'll be presenting the rest of slides for the RCA, and I will start with the eligible population for RCA. So, who is eligible for RCA? To be eligible for RCA, an applicant must belong to a population recognized by the Office of Refugee Resettlement or ORR. RCA eligibility rules are determined by federal legislation and regulations such as the Refugee Act of 1980 and Title 45 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 400. Federally funded Refugee Cash Assistance or RCA is available to eligible individuals from the following groups: refugees, asylees, Cuban and Haitian entrants, certain Iraqi and Afghan special immigrants or SIVs, certain Afghan humanitarian parolees, certain Ukrainian humanitarian parolees, and lastly, victims of severe human trafficking. Please note that these individuals listed here, they might be different from people eligible for the CalWORKS program. Next slide, please. What's an eligibility date? An eligibility date for RCA is the date an applicant is considered eligible for federal benefits and services and is different from the date of application. The application date marks the date in which benefits begin to be issued if approved. Eligibility for benefits and services is time limited and begins on the date of eligibility. Next slide, please. When is the eligibility date? An eligibility date is the date an applicant is considered, as I already mentioned, eligible for RCA. The eligibility date starts for RCA depends on immigration status. The eligibility date for refugees, special immigration visa holders, certain parolees from Afghanistan and Ukraine is the date of their entry to the United States. For Cuban and Haitian entrants is the date of their entry to United States or the date on acceptable immigration documentation is counted as eligibility date for RCA. The RCA eligibility date for asylees or the date they have been granted asylum. For certified victims of trafficking, the eligibility date starts the date on certification they present or any other letter from the Office of Trafficking in Person or OTEC. For more information about this, please refer about this overall population eligibility dates and acceptable eligibility documents. You can also refer to ORR policy letter 16-01. You can also find there is an attachment document that shows the status and documentation requirement guides. Next slide, please. How long can you receive RCA? On March 28, 2025, ORR issued their colleague letter 25-13, reducing the RCA eligibility period from 12 to 4 months for individuals whose eligibility date start is on or after May 5, 2025. All RCA recipients whose eligibility start date is prior to May 5, 2025 continue to be eligible for up to 12 months of RCA benefits. The CDSS informed county welfare departments about this reduction of RCA time eligibility, publishing the all-county directorate letter dated on May 2nd, 2025. Please note that while other programs have impacted, as already Veronica already mentioned, that by HR1, fortunately, RCA is not directly impacted by that law, which has been signed on July last year. Next slide, please. Application requirements for RCA applicants, things to bring. As mentioned by the CalWORKS team, non-citizen applicants must provide immigration documentation and identity information such as, but not limited to, passport, employment authorization document, immigration or court documents, I-94 arrival and departure record, proof of asylum grant, and a certification letter from Office of Trafficking in Person. Next slide, please. Employment services requirements, if approved for RCA, if found eligible and approved for RCA, applicants must participate in a federally funded employment services program, which is called Refugee Support Services per MPP 69-207. This one is also run by our bureau, Refugee Program Bureau. Unlike RCA, RSS or Refugee Support Program is only available in 8 refugee impacted counties. These counties are Alameda County, Los Angeles, Orange, Sacramento, San Diego, San Francisco, Santa Clara, and Stanislaus. To participate in employment services, refugees should register and participate with appropriate agency for employment services within 30 days of their benefits issued. Provide documentations if they believe they should be exempt from participating in employment services, and also accept any appropriate job offer. Please remember, cash assistance will be terminated for failure or refusal to participate in employment services without a good cause. Next slide, please. Reminders and special considerations for RCA eligibility. Resettlement cash grants received by refugee and SIVs are not counted as income during RCA income eligibility determination process. Resources in applicants' country of origin is also not counted or considered. Applicants are not required to provide a social security number or disclose it for an RCA eligibility determination. This is unlike CalWORKS program, so you don't need to provide RCA social security in order to be eligible for RCA. Families who are eligible for CalWORKS may be eligible for RCA. Next slide, please. Here is our contact information. If you have a general question, you can call us. Our phone number is 916-645-4356. You can also reach us at rpp@dss.ca.gov. If you have any policy-related questions, you can reach us at refugee policy at dss.ca.gov. And thank you for listening. Back to you, Carissa.
Thank you, Veronica and Ardasher, for walking us through all of that information. So we were able to cover CalWORKS and RCA, and I've seen that we have questions that were answered in our Q&A, and we also had some questions that were submitted ahead of time. So before we move into our closing slides, we're going to open up some space. We have heard some feedback on our previous webinars that people would love more time to ask questions in these webinars. So we wanted to specifically and strategically do that in this one as well. So we're going to open up the space for questions. You can use the Zoom Q&A feature or put questions in the chat. And we're going to do our best to get through as many as we can with the time we have left. This is a space for clarification. If you need more information or something, we need to go deeper on something or share more or clarify something, feel free to ask those questions in the chat or the Q&A portion. I'm going to get us started, though, with some questions that were submitted ahead of time. Just give me one moment. All right. So these questions, thank you for those who submitted them in our form that we sent out asking for questions to be submitted. The first one, and I believe this one might have already been answered in the Q&A, but I think it'd be great to get the answer live as well. So can Ukrainian refugees receive assistance through RCA or CalWORKS while their immigration status is pending? What are the specific rules or guidance for these cases?
I can go ahead and start for the CalWORK side of the house. So we did put out an all county information notice, ACIN number I-40/2022, and we'll ensure that that is with the resources at the end of this presentation that talk about Ukrainian national eligibility. But when it comes to the CalWORKS perspective, Ukrainian nationals must meet a qualifying immigrant status to be eligible for state and federal TANF CalWORKS benefits. So that means that if a participant was in a pending status, they would not be eligible for benefits until granted a qualifying immigration status. So I hope that that helps. If they're in pending status, then we'd have to wait until we had that qualifying immigration status that is able to be verified before we can issue out benefits.
Thank you, Julia. Anybody from RCA would like to tag on to that response as well?
There, this is Chris Williams with the Refugee Programs Bureau. Veronica's having some technical difficulties, so I'll step in and answer for us.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So from the RCA side, and also with regard to RSS or Refugee Support Services, so the answer is yes. Under certain conditions, individuals with pending applications for e-parole are eligible to continue receiving benefits that they had benefits and services that they had previously been receiving while their re-parole application is pending. One of the requirements there is that in order to continue receiving these benefits and services, that re-parole application had to have been submitted prior to the end of the initial parole period. There's some other requirements there. And I think the link to the letters for more information were shared in the chat already. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chris and Julia. And if there are follow-up questions to that, they've provided their emails and contact information if needed, and I'll be following up with that information in our post-webinar email as well. We had some other questions submitted as well, just about what else can we expect between now and March, specifically regarding RCA and CalWORKS?
I can go ahead and kick it off for CalWORKS, and then I'll defer to my fearless leader, Section Chief Julie Fong, to help maybe add additional context. But for right now, like we discussed in the HR1, also known as the Big Beautiful Bill, it didn't impact CalWORKS. However, the future is still very uncertain. So the department is committed to keeping all of our stakeholders informed if there are changes to come in the future. But as for right now, we don't have any. But that does not mean that that can't change over the next few months.
And I think that Julia answered that perfectly. There are a lot of unknowns right now. The state is committed to, dedicated and committed to families, to serving families in need in the state. And we will continue to fulfill that commitment and that dedication and continue to ensure that our partners are as well informed as we are. There are a lot of moving parts right now. And I think that just like this webinar, we need to seek one another for mutual aid and support and information. And that is where our power and our safety lies. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Chris, anything to share from RCA?
Sure. From the RCA perspective, we're not really anticipating any imminent changes. So RCA will continue to be limited to 4 months, a maximum of 4 months for those with eligibility start dates on or after May 5th, 2025. I believe it was already mentioned that the time eligibility period for refugee cash assistance was reduced earlier, or back in May of 2025 from 12 to 4 months. Prior to 12 months, for about 30 years, it was at 8 months. But 4 months is the current time eligibility period. And then we have been working closely with CalSAW's state benefits system partners on ensuring that counties are carefully reviewing active and discontinued cases to ensure that the proper months of aid are provided to all eligible cases. And then the same with RSS services, employment and other allowable services there in the 8 refugee impacted counties. Those will also continue to be available to eligible individuals for up to 60 months or 5 years from their initial date of eligibility.
Thank you, Chris. And again, feel free to put more questions in our live meeting chat or in the Q&A portion as well. I'm going to kind of highlight some questions from the Q&A that have already been answered, just in case people haven't looked at that function yet, and they can still get the information that has been provided here as well. So I see a question in here about what happens when someone turns 18 and they're no longer eligible for CalWORKS. So I see that there were some responses, but I would love for you to highlight those answers for everybody, please.
Sure. So the question was, what happens if a kid turns 18? Are they no longer eligible for CalWORKS? What happens? So if the child is in high school or vocational school and expected to complete the program before their 19th birthday, then they can continue to receive CalWORKS until they graduate. And also too, if they're disabled and still attending school, they can potentially receive aid up until their 19th birthday. As far as what happens beyond their 19th birthday, that would be, unfortunately, they wouldn't be eligible for any more CalWORKS benefits. However, they would be eligible for CalFresh. They'd still be eligible for Medi-Cal and potentially GA. GA has their own requirements and it wouldn't be CalWORKS. And if they're still in the same purchasing and preparing in the same CalFresh household, then that would still be the same household. But there's GA available, but for CalWORKS purposes, once that 19th birthday hits, then that will be when they will discontinue from the program. And they would have to be meeting those certain requirements. So if they graduate high school, 18th birthday comes at the very end of the month of their 18th birthday, then they will be discontinued if they've already graduated high school. I hope that helps.
All right. Thanks, Julia. And this question kind of probably goes a little bit off of that question as well. So talking about what happens when a family uses their 5 years of CalWORKS and what happens if they still need assistance post that time. So if you or Octavio or Julie want to share about that, that would be great.
Sure. Our bureau chief had to jump for another call, so I'll go ahead and I'll jump in here. So we still aid the children even when the parents exhaust their 60-month time clock. Sometimes within that 60-month time frame, there may be opportunities for the family to qualify for an exception to get a time stopper or a time extender. Those different details of what institutes as a time clock stopper and what could extend the clock are highlighted in the document that Octavio posted into the chat and the Q&A, but I will post this into the chat. There are different factors that will be used to see if a family qualifies for, or an adult qualifies for, that extender or time stopper. But it would have to fall under those certain requirements. But even if the parent is timed out, that's what we call it, being timed out when you exhaust your 60-month time clock, the children are still eligible for aid. So it's not like the whole family, like some states, the parents time out, the children are no longer eligible, the whole case closes. But California is one of those unique states where we still aid the children up until the age limit requirements. So that way the family still continues to receive the services they need.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julia. And Julie, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? I saw you came off mute for a moment.
Apologies, I wasn't sure if Julia was going to jump in, so
Okay.
she's ready, but she
Yeah.
jumped in, and no, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, and then there was another great question in the Q&A about if someone arrives to a non-impacted county, and earlier we saw that the impacted counties that were highlighted, but if somebody arrives to a non-impacted county, how can they access services similar to RSS, Refugee Support Services, or those services, are they then not available to them? So Chris, I saw that you put an answer in the Q&A. If you want to kind of go over that live for everyone would be great.
Sure, not a problem. Yeah, so those refugee support services or RSS services are only currently available in the 8 impacted counties that are designated as refugee impacted. So in other counties, eligible individuals would apply for benefits and services at the county benefits offices and then be directed from there to other locally available employment and social services programs, which there may be a variety of, and may include also services through the local employment and development department or EDD.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we still have a few moments left, so I'd love to see if we can get one or two more questions answered. Oh, I see we have one in the chat. Julia mentioned the county letter on the Ukrainian eligibility. Does this include information on the treatment of UHPs who apply for re-parole? If it does, can we provide this county letter for reference?
I'm not quite sure if it does include the re-parole, but it does give standards of like if they are if they're already parolee, humanitarian parolees. So it does give some note to that. But we love to take this question back. I see that Christopher's hand is raised, so I will defer. I will phone a friend and defer to him as well.
Great. Yes, Chris.
Thanks, Lily. I'll just chime in to note that there's, as I think many folks on this call are aware of, there's an ORR policy letter that was put out. I think it's policy letter 2401 that allows for continued benefits and services for certain UHPs while their re-parole applications are pending. And we're well aware that many of those re-parole applications have been pending for many, many months. Important to understand that that policy letter was produced by the Office of Refugee or Settlement and only covers Office of Refugee or Settlement benefits and services. So that's applicable to like Refugee Cash Assistance and Refugee Support Services, but doesn't necessarily apply to the CalWORKS program or other programs. I don't know if that helps answer the question.
Luz, you put the question in the chat. If you have follow-up, feel free to add that in the chat as well. But thank you, Julia and Chris, for giving us some information in response. Again, we have a few moments left for other questions. If anybody wants to put it in the Q&A or in the meeting chat, would love to, again, answer maybe one or two questions left. We've got a lot of great experts on these topics here, so would love to take advantage of the time that we have.
Carissa, I see a question about the spelling of the RPB, their mailbox.
Oh, okay.
I believe they put in the correct spelling.
Yeah, our colleague Sophic already posted the correct one.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
rpb@dss.ca.gov. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia, for noting that, and R Dasher for that as well. Okay, and I see we got another question. We'll wrap up with this one probably just with time, but refugees who will lose full scope Medi-Cal due to HR 1, what is a state alternative program to maintain full scope medical? Does anybody on our call today have any information we can share in response to that, or that we can connect them with somebody who could answer that question?
That, oh, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Christopher. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is definitely a question for our Department of Healthcare Services, DHCS. My understanding is that they're currently working on formal policy guidance to be issued to sort of answer this question and provide guidance statewide on this particular issue. But we can drop the link in the chat or the email address in the chat for who to reach out to at DHCS for more information about that.
Great, that would be super helpful. So feel free to put that in the chat for everyone, and I will include that in follow-up information as well. And I have one more question in here. So approved asylees come under what category of the application in the list? Does any,
Yeah,
okay,
answer
go ahead,
that.
Veronica.
I'm not sure I understand the question exactly. Iman, could you clarify what you mean? I can say that, excuse me, someone who has been granted asylum, they do become eligible then for ORR services. So that would be RCA. They are also eligible for CalWORKS. So they should be treated the same as would a refugee. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Under what category of the application in the list? Yeah, they're eligible as having a legal status of asylee. I hope that answers your question.
Mom, was that helpful? If you can put a thumbs up or a yes in the chat, that would be great. And if you need follow-up information in our feedback survey that I'll show you later on, you can add follow-up questions as well. So I'll be sure to share that link so you can put more questions for our presenters. All right, just for the sake of time,
hello, can you hear me now? Sorry, due to
yes.
the issue with the mic, I wasn't able to speak. Actually, there is a client who applied for asylum. His asylum was approved, and he submitted his application for the green card, but due to the new administration, he hasn't received his green card yet. He wants to apply for medical, and his income is like to 2,000 monthly, and he's single. There is a list in the drop down button, and with different status of immigration status. This applicant, we're not sure under what category he comes. There were some specific names for that with some code number. That was the question, actually.
So you're asking about the benefits Cal online?
Yes.
So there should be a drop down for asylee.
No, it was one was asylee, but there were some other names with some numbers, which was not sure. Even I wasn't sure about it. What to answer?
It's difficult. You can definitely email us, but asylee should be sufficient as a category in terms of applying. In terms of a pending LPR status, you wouldn't enter any of that information until that actually has an outcome. But for asylee, I would just pick asylee. I don't know what other drop-down options you're referring to, but if you want to email us at our email, we will definitely help you out a little more.
Sure. Could you please share the email address that I can email all the details?
Sure. I'm going to give you our refugee policy email.
Thank you.
I'm also going to post a link in the chat from the colleagues over at the California Department of Public Health who regularly host an orientation for asylees, and it goes through almost all the benefits, the public benefits and associated programs that asylees have access to. It's also run in multiple languages, and there are slides available on their website.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. And I'll include that information too in our follow-up email and as references on support guide as well. So thank you so much for engaging and sending some great questions today. Um, we so appreciated you being here, and we're thankful for our facilitators, Veronica, Julia, Ardasher. Thank you so much. After the session, you will receive an email with some about the upcoming sessions that we're having, a link to support guide with recordings and slides that will be there. And also on support guide, we have our provider directory and other resources that are great to access. Our survey is through that QR code on the screen. I will send a link to it as well. But again, your feedback is so important to this webinar series, and we would love to keep providing topics that are relevant and helpful for your everyday work. Again, thank you for attending. Feedback survey, QR code, feel free to scan it on your phone. And again, I'll share the link as well as a lot of other links for you in our follow-up email coming out shortly. We strongly encourage you to continue engaging with us through the feedback survey, through these webinars, through just emailing us if you have questions or want to learn more or suggestions. We are here to listen and then to collaborate and create what resources are best and most helpful for you. So thank you again to our facilitators. Thank you again to everyone who joined today. We are looking forward to seeing you on our next series. Have a great afternoon.